Did you know that 89% of award-winning ad campaigns fall into just 6 categories of thinking? And now the ad nerds at Ad House Advertising School have taken that thinking and turned it into a deck of cards. Ad House of Cards is a deck of 35 cards designed to help you come up with big ideas. Each card includes a prompt, a proven technique used by award-winning ad pros to jumpstart your thinking and improve your campaigns. Visual thinkers can use the backs of the cards to free associate using gorgeous photography from the artists at Unsplash.com. Ad House of Cards will teach you to hone in on the benefit, dramatize it, romanticize it, look at it sideways, and twist it into a pretzel. And the best part is that all of the proceeds go to the Ad House Scholarship Program, supporting our mission to make the advertising industry more inclusive. Ad House of Cards, a deck for ad nerds. Get yours today for just $20 at adhousenyc.com.
Welcome to the A-List.
Hello, ad nerds, and welcome to the A-List, the podcast that asks the world's top advertising professionals how they got started in the business. I'm your host, Tom Chrisman, Executive Creative Director at VaynerMedia. What? Yeah, big news. And co-dean at Ad House Advertising School. Today, you're going to hear my conversation with Pete Favat, Creative Chairman at Deutsch LA. We talk about growing up in New Jersey. I did that too. Going to the School of Visual Arts with Keith Haring. I did not do that. That's very cool. Falling in love with the art of film on a shoot in LA, and selling his agency to Arnold instead of leaving it, which was a really cool conversation. And then we get to look at the future with a peek at Steelhead, Deutsch's production studio in Los Angeles, with its own state-of-the-art soundstage. Sounds very cool. This is an episode about obsession with craft and the luck that comes along with it. And it's my first time meeting Pete. He's a really nice guy. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Mr. Pete Favat. Hey, Pete Favat.
Hey.
Nice to meet you. We've never met.
How are you?
All
Welcome
right.
to my wall.
Yeah, I love the wall. What's the significance of the wall? For those who aren't seeing video, because I don't use video, it's got some hash marks on it, and then you moved aside.
This is how many days we've worked from home.
Wow, that's a lot.
That orange mark up there is a year.
Wow.
Yeah. I put in just a piece of electrical tape every day. It's like Tom Hanks in Castaway, you know?
Yeah.
Self-sane.
That's crazy. And it really shows visually what we've been through. So Pete Favat, how are you today?
I am good. Thank you very much. It's a nice day out here in California. It's nice and cool.
Where did you grow up and all that?
My older brother always told me they found me in the gutter. And I was adopted. He told me that for a few years.
Yeah.
No, I was born and raised in New Jersey, born in Hackensack.
Love it.
Bergen County. My parents are both first generation Italian immigrants who moved out. They lived on 119th Street and 3rd Avenue, and they moved out to New Jersey. During those times, I think that's what the Italians did.
Yeah.
They moved out of the city. So
60s, 70s?
Yep, 60s, late 50s, 60s.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up in New Jersey, went to a public high school in Bergen County called Riverdale. And I had no focus or any sort of ambition in life, like zero.
Yeah, you just kind of bummed around like all of us do.
Yeah, I think a lot of other people had clearer pictures of what they were going to do. I literally had zero. I like to draw. I would draw everything in my high school, all the football programs, the yearbooks, all hockey programs, everything. In fact, people still who graduate with me will send a picture and say, I still have that picture you drew of me.
Oh,
like
wow.
cartoons and caricatures and things. So I just, it was the one thing that I could do, that and watch sports and eat. Those three things were I was like really good at.
Yeah.
And when it came time to start to think about like, what the hell are you going to do when you grow up? I thought I wanted to be an oceanographer, marine biologist,
Right.
live out at sea, study sea life. Sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I sucked in math and I sucked in science and sucked in all the classes except history. And yeah, that wasn't going to work. So I just kept drawing. I will say that thank God for my parents, because I had an older brother who was on a roll. I literally had a teacher or two say to me, "What happened to you? I had your brother. He was so smart. Like,
Right.
what was wrong with you?"
How many years ahead of you was he?
5. He was
Okay.
5 years ahead of me. He firstborn, super intense, but like way smarter, literally
Yeah.
on the honor roll. I would get an F, and I'd say to my parents, like, "What? It's F for Favat. This is right. This is awesome, man." They weren't having it.
Yeah.
So kind of rode the line of C's and D's, and like I didn't know it then. I know now. It's like I had frontal lobe issues. I'm dyslexic,
Yeah.
attention problems that no one knew about.
Right.
And it was just all boring to me, and I couldn't wrap my head around it, and I couldn't read as fast as other kids. So it was kind of like looking back on it now, it's like, oh, maybe that's why I drew so much, because
Right.
I knew that I could communicate that way better than writing or reading. I still have trouble reading. And maybe that was it. So when it came time to go into calculus and trigonometry, right? I mean, it's like, geez,
Yeah.
Geometry was easy because it was
Yeah.
visual.
Yeah. Same for me. I got A+ in geometry. It was
the only
like,
math
it was
thing I
like,
ever did good in.
yes, same.
It's like, oh, it's an isosceles. What the hell's wrong with everybody? It's
Yeah.
like, look at that thing.
Obviously, I can prove that. Here you go.
8 sides. It's all visual. It's the only math that's really visual. The rest
Right.
of it is like, wow, it's like abstract. So geometry and history. I loved history because it was stories. And it was factual. It happened, or we thought it was factual, right?
Yeah.
Let's
At
go
the
back
time.
to those high school history books and mark them as fiction now.
Yes.
On
Columbus Day of all days.
Exactly, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I said to my parents, I think I want to go to art school. I don't want to go to university. I think I'll just party too much. I'm already loopy. I work hard. I had like jobs after school all the time for years. I managed a sporting goods store. It wasn't that. It was just like, what am I going to do with my life? And I thought, maybe I'll just be a retail manager. Maybe I'll just manage the sporting goods store.
Yeah.
And I like that. It seems like fun. But I was just like, nah, there's probably something else. So my parents went to my high school, and my high school was really great for doing this. They said, if our son takes calc and trig, he's going to fail. He does not have that capacity. Now, whether you could say that today or not, and if schools could be this flexible, I said, I'm not going to be a doctor or an engineer. I'm not going to need this level of mathematics because I can't understand it, and I don't think it's going to fit in my life at all. Like, I don't know if you use trigonometry or calculus at all, and like, so it was a total waste. And here's another way to make a kid less confident. Another way to take away his self-esteem.
Yeah.
Because it's like everybody else could do it. It's like, well, I can't. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
So the school, my parents said, can you let him triple up on art classes? So instead of one art class during the week, and I think art was 2 or 3 times a week, can you let him triple up? So take 3 art classes because he needs to put together a portportfolio to get into an art school.
Wow. How did they know that? How did your parents know that?
I started reading about SVA because I was right over the river. I knew some older kids who graduated, went to Cooper, and I was just like, wait a minute, there's schools for painting and drawing, and like, that's what you do?
Okay.
That's where I want to go. So I scraped out of high school, and Dr. Geminiani, I'll never forget her. She was my art teacher. She just spent time with me and put together a college portfolio, painting, sculpture, all the types of things that schools were looking for. to get in. And I also helped her teach the class. Like I would spend a lot of time saying to kids, stop throwing pennies against Venetian blinds. This shit is the good stuff. This is where you can actually express yourself and you don't have to listen to the books and what they tell you, where you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
Like this is the class we should really be like really loving. And I realized, wow, I'm pretty passionate about this. This is crazy.
Yeah.
So long story short, put together a portfolio, get into SVA, 1979. Keith Haring is there.
Oh my God.
What a great class. Sam Baer was in my class.
I mean, was it down lower, like down near to same place it is now? Like that must have been so scary. Dude,
it was the best.
Yeah, it must have been like dirty New York, like 1979.
1979.
Like, Soho's right down the street. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and no one was in Soho. We would go down and tag buildings or paint on buildings, and no cops, nobody would see you. You go down there today with paint, and like forget it. The Gucci security guard is taking you in. You know.
Yeah.
It's completely changed in like Alphabet City. You wouldn't even go there. It was so dangerous. I love that time.
Yeah.
Dirty, stinky fucking New York was bankrupt.
Yeah.
Garbage men went on strike every August, and the garbage piled up. It was just like such a gross, dangerous, violent place.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm crazy, but I loved it.
The art of the time, Keith Haring and Basquiat. And, all those artists doing these like funky, messed up, scary things.
And music, the Ramones, David Johansen, New York
Were
Dolls.
you going to CBGBs and all that stuff?
All the time. So the Ramones, CBGB. It's really a shame. It's really a shame that they let, I guess there's a lot of politics, but at one point we had Jack Daniels and we went out to Brown-Forman when we read CBGB's closing. They didn't owe a lot on the mortgage, and we tried to convince Jack Daniels to just pay down the mortgage and keep it open.
Yeah. And
there wasn't any agreement because it was just like, why would we do that? It's like your product was like the aura of your product was born there in punk rock.
Yeah.
It's like one of the places that, and probably some country western bars that are like Gillies down in Texas. It's like, you should be like in the business of maintaining these places.
Right. Because if there's more places like that, then there'll be more people drinking your beverage.
Yeah. And you kept a museum, a piece of real fucking music history.
Yeah.
Alive for forever. Well, that's a stupid idea. Why would we do that?
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
It's hard to convince the corporate guys.
Yeah, corporate and people who didn't grow up there, people who grew up in Kentucky or whatever. And it's like, you try, but that's the type of thing that I love, that type of work or those types of ideas.
Yeah.
Because CBGB should not be a fucking Santander Bank or whatever it is right now.
Yeah. I think it's a Versace. The Versace, right? Isn't it?
Or like who's the other rock designer guy? He's like the men's designer,
right?
Like rock and roll. What the hell's his name? Oh, I forget. Barbados.
Right.
Barbados.
Yeah.
I look at him and I say, your business fashion is rock and roll. Why the fuck didn't you leave it open?
Yeah.
It's happening out here with the Cinerama Dome. Like it's closed, and it's like somebody's got to keep it open. Like
right, yeah, that piece of history. That
place. Like people don't step up. It's really weird.
Yeah, Yeah, and then
it's
gone. So much of New York is gone. So you go there for art, like painting and sculpture, and were you like, I'm going to be a professional artist? I'm going to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that was your goal.
I'm going to be a painter. I'm starting to love this. My mom was a painter. I used to paint with her in the backyard my first memory was like 3 or 4. I had my own easel. My mom was really, really creative. My dad was too. But they weren't in the business of creativity. They were just creative people who, World War II era, they went and got jobs.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, I'm going to be an artist. It's
Well,
like,
also in the Italian American community, I mean, the
college. And
craftsmen and the look at houses from the 20s, 30s,
oh, yeah.
40s. They are beautiful because they're made
Mhm.
by real craftsmen. Today, in the buildings of New York City, the
Yeah, the
Empire State Building,
stonework. I
the
mean, the
Empire State Building.
stonework.
But yeah, at some point, it just kind of, oh, that craft thing, we're not going to do that anymore.
Well, it's kind of funny because when my grandmother came over, she came over 16 direct from Italy all by herself. She shaved her hair off, sold it to a wig maker in Torino, jumped on a boat, and came to America all by
Wow.
herself. 16. Can you
Wow.
imagine? She said when she saw Manhattan coming up out of the water and she saw the Statue of Liberty, she just broke down in hysterical tears.
Yeah, I can't imagine that.
Like, what did I do? Oh my God. And this is so different. I
Yeah.
mean, no, there's no radio, there's no television back then. It's like
Yeah.
it's a surprise, surprise. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm diverging. So, but college was in immigrants. I don't know if your family's immigrant family.
Yeah. I was the first generation kind of to go to college. We had one nurse who had gone to nursing school,
Big
but
deal.
I was the first kid in my family to go
Yeah.
to college. Yeah.
It was funny because I'm totally um, cynical. I look at it and say, wow, okay, it was probably true to get this immigrant class of people educated and moving towards getting higher jobs than being, let's say, the blue collar jobs and things like that.
Yeah.
To start to get the class to be a little bit more diverse.
Mm-hmm.
And college was sold as an American dream, and there was no question in our house. You're going to college.
Yeah.
Like, but I'm not going to university. I'll party too much. I love parties. I love hanging out with people and goofing off, snowboarding, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go to those fucking classes. I'm just telling you.
That says a lot about you that you knew that about yourself, that you were like, I won't do well.
Yeah, and then I'll fail again.
Right.
So anyway, cut to SVA. Great time. Frank Ockenfels. I mean, there's so many people, and right off the bat, Marshall Arisman is my illustration teacher. That he was making probably around 15 Time magazine covers a year. Paula Shear, who you interviewed,
Yes.
was my design instructor.
She did the Boston album cover probably right around then, right? When was that?
Oh
That
my
was
God.
before then. That was before then.
No, yeah, it was no,
73,
it was after.
75?
It was after. It was
That was
just
like
after.
75. Yeah.
But all my favorite albums, I turned them over, designed by Paula Shear, CBS Records. It's like, she's teaching me now. This is crazy.
Yeah.
And so you had these people who were unbelievable. Nachum Mailer, a drawing teacher, my sculpture teachers, all of it.
They used to call it commercial art. That was how I growing up in high school. Art. That was my 3 courses. I almost did the same thing as you, except my parents didn't have to do it. I was just tracked. They were like, well, you are not going to be a doctor. So you will be having, and they allowed you to do it for yourself in my school. This was 86.
Is this in high school?
Yeah, 85, 86, where they were just like 84, 85. They were like, what do you want to do? And we were able to make our own class schedule. And I just said, I'm going to do, English, social studies, history, gym, and art. That's it.
Is that like a Montessori school? Is that
no? It was Union High School where Ray Liotta went. Most.
Wait, so you're from Jersey too? Union, New Jersey? Oh,
yeah, from Union.
That's pretty progressive.
Yeah, they were very progressive.
Education should be. We could go off, dude. We could talk for hours about this. I am I have a real strong point of view about that not all people, especially in the creative industry, need to go to college.
Yeah.
Doctors, lawyers, engineers, people who are building things that are going to keep us alive.
Yeah.
For sure. Or the way SVA was a vocational school. There was no math. There was only art history. There was literature, but that was pretty fucking awesome because they would have us read really dark shit, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And that was it. There was no science. There
Right.
were no sports teams either. It was like,
It
which
was
is
like
funny.
the science of color, right? The science of color you
Yeah, that was
have or
about
something
it.
like that.
Color theory and stuff
Yeah.
like that, which I loved, and and some psychology, which I think they could have done more of.
Right.
So the first year or two, you take everything, photography, drawing, no matter what. You're not allowed to make a decision whether you're going to go commercial art or fine art, because then
Right.
you've got a lane to choose. I think in sophomore year, you had to make the decision going into junior year because it divides the curriculum.
Yeah.
So Keith went fine art, and that was a hard choice because I thought I was going to be fine art. I'm going to be a painter until I got there, and it's like, fuck, I won't make a dime. I'll be one of those people.
This guy Keith Haring might make some money, but I'm not gonna.
And 20, 30 other people above me making some amazing stuff. It's just like, I don't, and it's funny too, because I shouldn't have thought that way, but it's like, I just don't want to starve. This isn't it. But hey, this design thing was really cool. So I started with design, then got heavy into photography, then got into advertising. And took Bill Urban, Chuck Schroeder were my teachers. They were doing the Miller Lite campaign at Backer. So they created that campaign. So they would come in twice a week, teach our class, ruthless, throwing your work off the wall, throwing it at you, putting it on the ground, saying this is shit. You'll never make it in this business.
Yeah.
I think our class, I think 25 to 30% of the kids left because it was tough. It was rough. I was like, we're just doing this because if you get a job in an agency, it's not going to be like, hey, roll around and do whatever you want and blah, blah, blah. It's
right.
Especially at that time, business has changed so much.
Yeah.
But they were way tougher than that business actually is. It was good.
Yeah.
It was like a boot camp. Ken Musto, he was tough. He actually hired me the day I graduated.
Oh, wow.
I've never been on an interview. He's like, I'm hiring you over at Wunderman. I need you on the Merrill Lynch account. I was like, well, I was going to go down and hang out with my cousin in the Caribbean for like a month and just drink beer and hang out with some, meet girls. And he's like, well, you could start a professional salary tomorrow, or you could go fuck off for 3 months and who the hell knows what'll happen then.
Oh, boy.
Totally me. Oh, no. Oh, shit. I'm going to fuck it all up. I'll take the job.
Do you regret that? Do you wish you had gone down to?
Oh, yeah, because a lot of funny stuff happened. Buddy told me it was a crazy story. But I quickly thought, you know what? Let me get some experience under my belt. Let me get my career going when I'm young.
Yeah.
Then I'll experience that shit in a first class way, not in a beach bum way with no money and sleeping on a bench and so
you had that practical side that was always saying to you like, hey man, watch out for yourself, this could all go away, and that comes from the immigrant mentality of your parents and the sort of
Depression era. We don't want to be on a food line. That was so ingrained. You don't get credit cards. You pay for everything with cash. If you can't afford that money to pay right now, then you don't fucking buy that thing,
Yeah.
Why
it's a great way to live.
I don't know. It served me well. It's like, why are we getting these electric windows? Dad, you should get those electric windows in the cars now. Why would I do that? I'm perfectly fine cranking my window. Those things break and they cost extra money.
Yeah.
I'm not going that way. You got to be very practical. Logical, very logical. I need things organized in my head.
Yeah.
So it's not organized. So I try to organize stuff.
And so, Wunderman was direct response, right?
DR.
Were you like of that? Like, oh shit, I don't want to. Was that a consideration? Like, I don't want, because my first job was at Ogilvy Direct, so we have the same life. I'm realizing
it's too weird because I had no. Oh, it's okay to curse on here.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, I had no fucking idea what direct response was. I mean, no idea. my father was in the printing business. He was a publisher for sort of printing trade magazines. It'd be like Adweek, but all for the printing industry.
Yeah.
So I knew a lot about like newspaper and printing and all of this stuff, which they told me your job is to be doing direct response newspaper and small space magazine ads. We need concepts, and it's got to have a giant coupon on the bottom. It's like, what? And
For Merrill Lynch. Merrill Lynch was doing coupon ads.
Which was at Y&R. The account was at Y&R, but we were doing all the DR.
Yeah.
So Bill Singer, Ken Musto, good people.
Yeah.
And 5 months in, it's like I was on the Lucy machine all night. I'm like resizing SAU chart bull graphics. I did one or two cool things with the bull, but they're like, no, you can't do that with the bull.
Yeah.
No. And I did a one or two things it was great. My parents were out in Chicago. They saw the first ad I ever did in the Chicago Tribune. And they were like, we're so proud of you. It's like, no, you shouldn't be, because I'm not proud of this shit. It's like I did it. I made an ad.
Right.
It's like, but this is not what I want to do. So I lasted there for 5 months. The last straw was bull photographs would come in from all over the world. It was like a Marlboro shoot, you know?
Yeah.
You got, like some lucky ass creative director is traveling all over the world with a cool photographer photographing bulls on mountains all over the world, right? And drinking all night long.
Yes.
And they send back the photos to retouch the balls off the bull. And it's like, even then I was 23, 24. I'm like, this is not what I want to do. Jeannie Rantucci, I think. Jeannie, God, I should know her name. She was an art director there, and she was older than me. And she said, you don't belong here. I've got a friend named Joe Shaleski and Dana Jones over at Lintos, SSC&B. They work on Diet Coke and Carnation. I'm going to get you a meeting over there. You should go meet those guys. I said, okay, I'll do that. So she did that. She sent me over there. Do you know Mary Knox?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Funny experience. I think I'll probably keep it off this podcast.
Okay.
Went up there, loved everybody, and I got a job. I didn't know I had a motorcycle jacket. It's like not knowing what I was doing. Here's my portfolio. I've got one Merrill Lynch thing. Please don't look at it. And here's my college portfolio. Dana and Joe hired me. They put me on Diet Coke, the launch of Diet Coke.
Wow.
Right away. And Carnation, Frisky's Buffet, cat food, which was fun. They were great bosses, small group. And before you knew it, I'm presenting to Sergio Zeman in Atlanta.
That's awesome. What got you that job, do you think? What was it your book? Was it your attitude? What do you think?
I think
you were cheap.
Yeah, I was cheap. I don't know. You know what I've always found is whether it's a good thing or not, I get by a lot on personality and the way I talk with people and open up to people. And Jeannie saw something like a big sister, and she just helped me out. And from the guidance counselor helping me out to take 3 art classes to Dr. Gemignani helping me out, I always go way out of my way to help people out because it's really the only way that people can get a shot.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jeannie sent me over there. It was fun. 5 years there. I was part of the Diet Coke launch team. It was so exciting.
Wow.
And Sergio Zeman was a crazy, like the most famous CMO at the time.
Yeah.
Running Coca-Cola. He's the guy who said, we're going to change the formula and I'm going to introduce new Coke.
Yes. He was the new Coke guy.
And it was like, auto hitting wall at 300 miles an hour.
Wow.
Not a good idea.
Was he just turned into dust? Was he just fired so fast?
It hurt him really bad, but he stayed and he brought back Coke Classic. And then I don't know what happened to him. He became a consultant. But yeah, that was fun. And then a bunch of other accounts, but things started, there was a lot of energy.
Where were
And
you? Where were you living in New York City at that
I
point?
was living in Weehawken, New Jersey on Boulevard
Ah,
East.
wow. Taking
And
the
it was
bus in. You must have been taking the bus
or
in.
the vans, the little the vans that just they used to call them gypsy vans. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
proper.
Yeah.
But yeah, for just a guy driving a van, you give him like $5, and
He
there's like
takes you
20
into the city.
people in his van. No insurance, I'm sure. Nothing like
Yeah.
it's just a van.
It's the Squid
Uh,
Game. You were in the
it-
Squid Game. You didn't even realize it.
oh
No spoilers. No
my
spoilers.
God. So yeah, so then you get across town, and they were at One Dag Plaza, so over by the UN.
Yeah.
It was a cool place. Worked there for 5 years. My first commercial, Frisky's Buffet, I'm not boasting at all. Um, First commercial I ever did, first time in Los Angeles, which is a whole other story, like talking about lighting my brain up. I
Yeah.
was like, this is fucking amazing. Los Angeles is like insane. Never been there.
You had never been there, and you'd
No,
never. Yeah.
never been there. And I'm on a movie set shooting. It was like cat food, but still, they shot Chaplin movies here at Raleigh Studios, the oldest studio there. I'm
Yeah.
working with this guy who did Colin Chilvers, who did the rear screen projection, just did it for the Superman movie.
Wow.
And Chuck Rocher, whose father was Mary Pickford's personal cameraman, won the first Oscar for cinematography. They created it for him. So this old dude, Chuck Rocher, I'm in LA. I'm like, this is like fucking nuts. We shoot this commercial. It wins a gold Clio. Not like, and I thought, this shit's so easy. This is gonna be like everything I did. And then like 5 years goes by, I don't get anything.
Did you get a big head? Did you start to like sweat, have a little bit of that asshole swagger that the kids have sometimes?
Yeah, I bet you there's people that would say that for sure.
Yeah.
But it literally was like, I thought, oh my gosh, this is not so hard.
Right.
And it was timing and luck, and that's all it was.
That's what it always is.
But yeah, LA really lit me up to be more excited about advertising. There was something about that process those days, coming out here, being on the set, and it's like, okay, you could do big things.
Staying at Shutters? Were you staying at Shutters?
No, that was way. We were at the Mondrian.
Oh yes, the Mondrian.
Yeah,
great.
That
was my first place that I stayed too.
Yeah,
we literally have the same life. I'm like 8 years behind you.
Like that place, I walked in there. I'm like, this is the shit.
Yeah,
this is the shit. Unbelievable how cool this is.
Yeah, the Mondrian was where I was like, they'd let you into like the club area, like the outside club thing. So I went down there with my partner, Jeff Curry, who's now like running the world at Oakley. And we went down. It was our first trip to LA too. And Jeff Goldblum was there.
Oh yeah.
And Flava Flav was there. I'm like, what the heck?
Holy shit, dude! I wonder if we were
so real.
We were there at the same time, because I got in an elevator one time. Mondrian, Flava Flav was in the elevator.
Yeah,
we could have been there at the like exact same time.
Yeah, we probably were. He was, or those two guys always hung out there, which might be the case. They probably lived like up the block.
I remember seeing a window fly open. I was down in the pool. It was LL Cool J, and he gets up and he just no shirt on. He goes, yeah, with 2 bottles of booze, everybody's drinking. And these 2 women come up from each side and they drag him back down. It's like,
LL Cool J is not in Queens anymore.
Oh boy. But yeah, those days were crazy. But yeah, LA kind of turbo boosted. That trip kind of turbo boosted the idea of, the type of work and focusing more on film back then.
Yeah.
Making that the priority, I think was one of the things that print was cool, outdoor was cool. I'm the art director. So radio was like, yeah, but television to me became my biggest focus.
Yeah.
It's like, how do I do really cool shit? How do I do fun stuff or stuff that really stands out? And it was a fun time. I don't think it's like that anymore. But
who were your now it's TikTok. The same thing, TikTok. and you don't get to go anywhere. Who were your heroes? Who were you? Did you like? Were you looking up to people in the business, or were you like, I don't know, like?
Oh, Joe Pitka,
Yeah,
for sure. I would remember. Do you remember those Mitsubishi little electric printers, thermal printers, where you could freeze frame a video and like print out on a piece of paper, and it
yeah.
came out as
And
a long
the
scroll.
paper felt very
It was like slick and
sticky,
thin.
and
Yeah, it was
yeah.
like filmy,
Like
whatever.
receipt paper almost.
Yeah, like receipt paper,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
would spit out. I would stay after work and take Pitka's reel, Leslie Decter, um, Ridley Scott commercials, and I would literally freeze frame and print out each still and then arrange them on a storyboard to look and see how do these guys approach like wide shot, medium shot, tight shot. How do they approach like a story visually? And I would just do that to start to understand it. And to me, because I was never into comic books, oddly enough, I should have been, but it started to for me to look like, oh, it's like a comic book. And so as you're setting up, because back then, dude, like we were drawing our storyboards. I would have to have like 15, 16 frames, and I would draw them myself.
Right.
So to understand to make the storyboards look dynamic was almost like kind of a bit of a craft or, and get kind of innovative within that space to sell them to the clients. But it made it kind of fun because you were literally drawing something that was going to be put on film and showed to millions of people.
Yeah.
So,
and that kind of, sort of dedication to the craft and dedication to understanding others. It's so hard to do these days because you can't even see commercials. We used to have the stack of 3/4 inches, and you'd go into the room and all of the greats would be there, and you could just watch all of their reels. And now you're like, what are the great commercials now? I don't know. Where do I find it? Oh, I have to go online, and then you can't get on Can because you have to pay, or and it's something's been lost, and we need to get it back. I don't know how.
Well, I think it's true because I always say to people like, "What's your favorite campaign, running right now?" And there's a massive pause.
Even me, like I'm like, if it's on the game, I see it. There's no time. There's no time.
It's really changed because you used to be able to say rifle them right off, and you would be able to say like 3. I don't know if it'll come back, but it's changed, and I think it's really interesting, this change, because I don't know. I love change. I don't know why, but I do, because maybe with like attention issues, change is good. Having attention issues in this business has like been very useful for me.
Yeah.
As to me to be excited or interested in something, it really does have to get past a concrete thing or whatever it is in there.
Yeah.
And it helps you identify it, especially with 30-second making films and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there were so many heroes back then. And then Sam Baer, who I went to SVA with, started becoming one of my favorites, and Tony Kaye, and you used to know them all. And I don't stay as close to it as like CDs and ECDs do.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's the same as it was. And Michael Bay, we're going to get Michael Bay. And, he's going to lose his mind. And Joe Pick is going to punch the client in the face. And wow, those days are never coming back.
No. That's good. That's good. Joe Pick punching people. That's okay.
So let me see, where was I?
So we were talking about your heroes, and you had just gone on your first shoot. So where to next? Like when did you decide now I want to go to some place? Did you say like set your sights on, were there like agencies you really wanted to work at?
No. I know I wanted to, after my first trip to LA, I was like, I want to live in LA. This is like, it was nothing about work. It was like, what the fuck? It's beautiful and sunny here every day.
Yeah.
There's no bugs and humidity like in Jersey. And it's like, this is where I want to be. At the time, it was Chiat. And there weren't many agencies out here. And if there was an agency, it was a car account. It was because
Yeah,
of the
it was
car.
like the satellite of
Yeah, like
the New York
Toyota and
agency.
stuff. And I didn't really think about like moving out here or working in advertising, but at that time, my two bosses, Joe Shaleski and Dana Jones at SSC&B, both left. Joe left to become a director, and I used to go shooting stuff with him on the side just to have fun and make spec commercials. And
Yeah.
then Dana Jones, who was the writer, moved back to Massachusetts and took a job running a creative group at this place called Ingalls Quinn and Johnson back then.
Uh-huh.
It was a part of BBDO, and he called me and said, "I need you here like now. I need somebody who understands television. It's a good group of people, but there's not a lot of dynamic thinking in the television. It's Boston, and I just need to shake things up. Will you move to Boston?" I was 24, 25. And I said, "Are you fucking kidding me, man? I grew up like right across the river from Yankee Stadium. I mean, I'm a fucking Yankee fan. I'm a Giant fan. I'm like,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
no fucking Boston. That's incredible. Like, no way." And my friend Nick Charlante said, "We're gonna go out drinking." Because I said, "Nick, what do I do? Because I can't turn Dana down." He like really helped me. He said, "We're gonna put together a demands list that he can't possibly meet." And so Nick, who was older than me, said, "These are all the things you're going to ask for." So I sent it up to Dana, and he said, "Okay, I'm cool with all of it." And I was like, "No, wait, this was supposed to be like, no. Like,
You
I
didn't
want to
go
be,
high enough.
I want to be, no, it's like, I want to be a CD. I want a brand new car." It was like all of this stuff. And he was just like, and it was triple the salary. And
Yeah.
he was like, "Yeah, okay, I can do that. Get your ass up here."
Oh my
And
God.
so I was like, "Okay." And I tell you, I fell in love with Boston.
Oh
Man,
wow.
Boston rocks. It was at the time, it was so great. So I worked on Converse, worked on a bunch of Friendly ice cream. Oh my God, that's too funny. I'm trying to think of other accounts. TJ Maxx was there,
Oh
which was
wow.
actually fun. That was in the early days. Worked there for, again, for like 4 years. And I had become very, very close with the Converse clients. And that's where we did, there was a thing I did called Grandma Ma for Converse. And it was Larry Johnson in a dress. And it was
Oh yeah.
introducing the new Aeroglide shoe from Converse. And it was
Yeah.
the craziest thing they'd ever done. And the, there's a guy named Doug Houston called me and said, "Hey, I'm starting an agency and I want you to run it. So you want to be my partner? We're going to start an agency." I was like, wow, that sounds fun. That sounds cool. Can I bring my partner, Rich Herstack?" And so we packaged up a group of people who were at Ingalls, and we all went to start Houston. It was at Houston Effler, and then it became Houston Herstack Favat. And the Converse client said, "If they're to Ingalls, if Rich and Pete are going to this new agency, we're going with them. You're fired."
Wow.
And I was like, I did not have anything to do with that. I did not like this.
Yeah. Don't sue
That
me.
was like $30 million account. And so Converse moved over to Houston.
And this
And
is in Boston still.
in Boston. Yep.
Yeah.
Right on Mass Ave and Newbury Street. And so we started with Converse. We had Baybank. Then we picked up Fidelity, and we were on a tear. All the anti-smoking stuff, NEC Computer. We went on a tear for 5 years.
And you had to become like a business person at that point.
Yeah.
With
Yes.
your ADD. How
Yeah,
was
you had
that?
to manage, fire people, hire
Yeah.
people, all of it, and manage the group, manage the department. Yeah, and that was my first exposure to financial meetings and understanding how agencies work.
Right.
And I'm actually like, I understand it. It's not something I'm really into, but I have a good understanding of like what the percentages should be.
Right.
I mean, people versus the income and revenue, and
Yeah.
what we're looking at overhead and all that stuff. So so that's an interesting insight because I forgot all about that. But now, like, I find I find them to be really interesting. How an agency makes money and how it's changing how we make money.
Yeah.
But so 5 years there. There was a guy named Ed Iskandarian over at Arnold who bought pretty much every agency in Boston and put them together to make this company Arnold Worldwide.
Yeah.
He called me up one day and said, "Hey, I want to take you out to lunch." And it's like, "Okay, great. Ed, I've heard all about you." And he said, "Hey, I want to hire you to run the Volkswagen account." I said, "Ed, but Ed, we have my own agency. It's like, I'm not going to go and be a CD on Volkswagen. But I will tell you, at the time, there were two people who were a bit divisive. They were starting to pull the company apart. And without getting too much into it, it was so great for 5 years, and it was starting to head in the bad direction.
Yeah.
I said to Ed, "I'll tell you what, I'll turn this interview around. And what about buying us and plugging us into Arnold? Because I've got 220 people, good people with really good accounts, who you could plug right into your company, and we can rid ourselves of this other element of where it's going." And he's like, "Holy shit." Bing, bang, boom, made the offer. The two guys who were the trouble took the money. We all took our payment, and we moved everybody over to Arnold.
Wow.
And there for what, 15 years or something like that. Yeah.
What possessed you to like think that you could do, like, that's the jump, the leap for me is like, I could just sell the age, like,
I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea. Well, it was getting to the point where I was starting to get, I was just starting to get worried about financial things in the company. Again, I don't want to get too into it.
Right. Sure.
But, one thing growing up, in Union or anywhere in the tri-state area, I don't know, there's a sense that you are brought up with that tells you there's something wrong. There's something shaky. And I've got a good intuition about there's something, and I'm really young, and those guys are older.
Yeah.
And maybe they know what they're doing, but I don't know if they do. And it could have been dangerous. And so, especially back in those days, like I watched a guy get busted, a producer get busted by the FBI in Rocco's Pizza on 3rd Ave because he was taking kickbacks on government accounts over at NW Air.
Oh.
And
what an idiot.
Remember, what's her Paula or Shit.
Oh yeah, at Gray. Gray, yeah.
At Gray. And even our head of production, I know he was doing some shady stuff. And I said, I want to see 5 different companies doing all of our print. I don't want to see one, dude. And he's like, what are you saying? He got really mad. And it's like, I just want to make sure we're diversifying. Because back then the printing industry was like really corrupt, corrupt. And production was super corrupt.
Right.
And thank God it's not that way at all anymore. It's totally changed. But you could smell when things were going wrong. And I think because maybe a lot of things were going wrong, but I ended up firing him as like that. I can't trust you. It's like, I'm not going to have this company get into legal problems and financial problems because you've got some shady deals going on with the company.
Yeah.
You're putting us all at risk,
Yeah. It's a little known, it's a little talked about thing that happened in the production world. And I think it's been ended.
I think so. I think for sure. I think it's amazing when people say like, this business needs to change a lot more. It's like, man, it's changed a lot.
It's changed a lot. And the power is now in the hands of the makers and the creators and production company.
We have great people. Who Mark Darcy went to Facebook, Andrew Keller went to Facebook. We have great creative people who are now going over onto the client side.
Apple.
Exactly.
Taking a
this
bunch.
Is as Mark said to me one night we were having dinner, we won. It's like it's really changing. And it's really true because the best agencies were always the ones who were creatively owned, right?
Yeah.
You look at
Yeah.
it. It's very simple. But now you look at it and say, the creativity, sorry, I'm eating a piece of jerky. Creativity is being expanded into more companies at the top of those companies,
Yeah.
not
They're,
just in the ad agency.
they're understanding the power of it and the power of creative thinking and
Mhm.
problem solving.
Problem
because-
solving.
Yeah.
Problem solving, right.
So now you're at Deutsch. You've been there for how long have you been there?
Deutsch.
13 years?
No, geez. 7 or 8.
7 or 8. Okay.
7 or 8. It's gone so goddamn
2013.
fast.
2013.
So, God, I'm so terrible. 1846.
I always tell people I started in the 1900s, which is true. But what's it like there? How have you grown there? What's the trajectory been like while you're there? Being
It's
chairman now.
It was it's like whatever that is. As I say, I'm here to help. I'm here to whatever I can do to guide things. The there's a big difference. Have you ever worked in Los Angeles? Have you ever worked out here? I don't know.
Just shooting. No, I've never been at an agency there. No.
It's interesting because the first thing I recognized, and I love history and I love origin and all of that stuff. The first thing I recognized was the difference between in Boston, there's this Puritan founded by the Puritans, this Puritan kind of what do they call it? Yankee pride. And there's an innovation. That area, New England, has a history of innovation. I mean, they invented the sneaker. They invented a lot of things.
Yeah. Bell Labs.
Yeah. I mean, Polaroid was invented in Massachusetts, Dr. Lamb, right?
Yeah.
There's these amazing advances, but then at some point, the Yankee or the Puritan thing kicks in. It's like, okay, we got to hold tight. Like we got to let's stay. Hold. No cards. Everybody hold.
Close off the doors. Seal it in.
Because what we did is amazing. And if you look at a lot of those companies, and look, I'm not an expert on this at all. It's just an observation.
Yeah.
They all stopped growing. And when I look at the West Coast, there's this progressive mindedness. These are the people who got in covered wagons with their wives and children, went into it, nobody knows what's out there. And there's some pretty angry people that you'll probably confront and animals along the way. And there's no police. So you're kind of on your own.
Yeah.
Really brave, progressive, bold people. And, that started it. And I think that still kind of exists out here. That out here, the attitude is, we could definitely do that. In fact, we should do it 10 times bigger than that. And what I used to find back east was, oh my God, we could never do that.
Right.
Oh my God, we could never. That's cool, but we could never do that.
Yeah. Yeah. The history is almost a burden.
In some ways, or just a mindset. And again, what do I know? It's just an observation. But to me, it was kind of clear as day that out here, there's more of an appetite for boldness, creativity, and the sense of new. What haven't I seen before? How are we going to blow people's minds? California and the West Coast, it's where technology and entertainment, it's all of it. Yeah. All the platforms are in California. And even Converse, look at Nike. Phil Knight actually started Nike. He tried to make shoes on the East Coast and he quickly shut everything down and moved it back to the West Coast.
Yeah.
So because shoes were all made in New England. All shoes in America were made in New England.
Yeah.
It didn't work. So it's I don't know. It just there's a big difference for me. So it's a big change, which I love. I like to be provocative and I like to push things. So there's a more openness to that here.
Yeah. And being the West Coast agency of an East Coast agency, what was that like along the way when you from when you first started to now? I guess it had been there for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah. I actually
And it became the real focus of Deutsch. Like I feel like the LA office
some people
became
say that.
the
People,
center for a while.
yeah, some people say that. I mean, Deutsch in New York, when with Donnie, it was a bold agency. I mean,
My first internship. That's where
that
I
was
was.
it
First
was a
internship.
crazy new kind of agency, and Donnie was like the leader of it. Bold, not taking any shit, really flamboyant. Um, it wasn't my thing back then, but it was a thing, and it was just like, wow, that's like good for you. And they were doing really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And then, Donnie flew out to LA, met Mike and Eric Hirschberg. They started a little office. They started picking up a few accounts. And then LA and New York were like really separate. And when I came into the picture, when Mike called me, Mike and I met back in Boston about coming out to LA. He offered it to me once, and I had to turn him down. I said, my daughter's going to be a junior in high school. I can't, in this day and age, I can't pull a girl out of junior year in high school and move her across the country and stick her in with strangers.
Good dad.
I've got 2 more years left of her, and like I'm just gonna screw her head up. Like,
Yeah.
So I have to, as much as I want this, Mike, I got to turn it down. He hired somebody else, and then 2 years later, as we were at Cannes, he said, Juliet's in college. Do you still want to move? I'm like, you would still have me? He goes, fuck yeah, let's talk right now. Let's go to lunch.
Oh,
and
wow.
It was done. It was done there.
Doing deals in Cannes. Look at you.
Like power.
Just a kid from Jersey doing deals in Cannes.
I know, right? It's so fucking ridiculous. It sounds ridiculous too. So yeah, coming out here, when I stepped in, there was a real strong feeling that LA is the opposite of New York. Like there was we're the renegades. We don't play, like there's not a lot of collaboration. They're two different offices.
Right.
And you don't have to worry about New York, Mike said. You don't have to worry about New York. And I said, this is great. I've worked on global stuff now for 6-7 years. I don't like it anymore. I just want to focus on one office, right?
Yeah.
And help make a handful of accounts good. That's all you have to do. It's so funny. About 6 months later, Mike says, hey, I want you and me and Winston to run the New York and the LA office. It's like, what? We talked. It's like, what the heck?
We had this conversation.
Because then the decision from IPG is, let's put them together. Let's see if we can't help each other. And then that decision was reversed a year and a half ago.
Right.
So now we're separate again. Oh,
you're separate again.
Yes.
And you're described now as like a digital lab. I forget what it is. I'm going to forget.
A creative studio.
Yeah, creative studio. What's that from?
So what that's from is, first, in the pandemic, we were moving all of our employees into Steelhead, this building that we designed called Steelhead. That's our production company. It's about 60,000 square feet. We have a 10,000 square foot stage, 7 or 8 amazing edit booths. We've got our motion graphic, animation, design people. It's kind of like a production studio. It feels like a TV studio. And there's filmmaking and print shoots or whatever going on all the time. And we're moving the entire agency into that building. We let go of our lease because we want to make the agency feel more like something that feels faster and nimbler and smarter than the model that we have right now.
Yeah.
And how do we link the data, the insights and strategy, the creative, right to the making? So you can approve stuff, and we're gonna send it right downstairs, and we're gonna start making stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it comes out the other side, and then we put some more data on it and things like that. So that's the way we're looking at it. We're now producing such a huge majority of our own work, editing most of our own work. Of course, we'll still go to great production companies and directors and outside editors. But for the most part, we're keeping it all in-house ourselves, so we can be faster and more nimble and more revenue.
Yeah. And more control and
right.
and doing more things, because you can make films so much quicker these days. You don't have to fly out to LA. You are in LA, but you don't have to fly out to a studio somewhere and do it. And wait for the pictures of the bulls to come in.
Yeah, exactly.
There,
Those days are gone.
Those days are gone. They were beautiful.
And it's also young people are more makers. So we want to inspire more people to get in the studio and use it. It's like I always say to people, it's 10,000 square foot soundstage, the most modern one in LA. It's like when I was 24, I'd be in there every night.
Go make a movie. Yeah.
Walking around, man.
Yeah.
Stop motion, making weird shit. I don't know, playing with lights.
Yeah.
So that's what we want to inspire most of the kids to get in there and use it and fuck around. We've got we record albums for 10 artists already we have 2 mixing booths and a sound booth. We've already got 10 albums under our belt. So we also design stuff for like titles for shows and things like that.
That's really cool.
Try to step out of advertising.
Yeah.
So that's what my focus is right now. My focus is Steelhead, our production company, and our design group led by Ademas Batista. And Cameron runs the creative department and all things in creative department.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So if people want to reach out and ask you questions or talk or send you stuff, where do they go? Who should they send it to?
Send it to me. Okay. Do you want me to give you my email address?
Sure. It's
Pete F as in Frank, A V as in Victor, A T as in Tom at Deutsch DeutschInc.com.
There you go. Pete Favat at deutschinc.com. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Have a great one.
Hey, thanks so much. I hope this was good. I hope this
was good. Thanks, man. Have a great day.
You too. Peace.
Bye. Pete Favat, everyone. I feel like the part where he was talking about printing out the framings of big directors, that's like, today following all your favorite creators on Instagram or TikTok, and I feel like that, that curiosity and that sort of wanting to be, like people that are ahead of you is still something you can do, and still, being curious and being wanting to have your finger on the pulse of what's going on, still a thing. So keep doing that. This has been the A-List, sponsored by Ad House Advertising School. I'm Tom Chrisman. You could always reach me at tomchrisman.net. Rate and subscribe us. And Ross Hopman at Duotone did the music. We love it. Have a great one. Thanks, everybody.